to connect a region of over 600 million bridges between our lands.
Good evening, I'm Alma Angeles, and you're watching ASEAN in Focus on tonight's headlines. Images capturing the arrival and press conference of the Filipino crew members from the MV True Confidence who survived the recent Houthi Gulf of Aden missile attack. The Philippine government mourns the loss of 2 Filipino crew members in the strike. Hans Kakdak, overseeing the Department of Migrant Workers, urges for rerouting and enhanced security measures for such dangerous routes during the press briefing. Meanwhile, President Marcos Jr. underscores the vital importance of safe passage in the South China Sea, emphasizing its significance in facilitating 60% of global trade. Addressing a joint press conference with German Chancellor Olaf Scholz in Berlin, Germany, President Marcos highlights the sea's importance not only for the Philippines, but for the entire global community. In other news, Thailand's Election Commission announced its intention to seek the dissolution of the reformist Move Forward Party, which secured the highest number of seats in last year's polls, marking a political upheaval in the country. Tragic news from northern China's Hebei province as a massive suspected gas explosion claims 1 life and leaves 22 injured. State media reports severe damage to buildings, with social media videos capturing the aftermath of the explosion. And lastly, in a lighter story, a feline fugitive is on the loose. Local authorities issue a cautionary warning after a cat accidentally plunges into a vat of hazardous chemicals at a metal plating plant in Fukuyama. Good evening and welcome to our broadcast. Tonight we bring you the harrowing story of survival and tragedy involving Filipino crew members aboard the bulk carrier MV True Confidence.
Lahat po kasi yun, sir, yung pangyayari. So, without, natake na lang po kami. Tapos, ayun. Kasi po, mahirap din po kami mag-recollect yung laging nire-recollect po namin yung mga pangyayari. Mahirap din po sa amin. Nagbigay na rin naman po kami sa mga ng statements namin, isa-isa sa mga proper authorities, mga agents po. Sa ngayon na po, gusto lang na po namin talaga makapag-usama yung pamilya po namin. Salamat.
They narrowly escaped a recent missile attack in the Gulf of Aden, but not without devastating losses. The Philippine government confirms that 2 Filipino crew members lost their lives in the attack.
Talulungkot po talagang grabe. Kasi kasama po namin ng ilang yung mga nandoon, pagsaluhan namin ng mga salo-salo ganyan. Po. Kaya biglang ganun lang yung mangyayari. So, napakasakit din po sa amin. Lalo na po sa pamilya.
During a press conference, Hans Kakdak, the officer in charge of the Department of Migrant Workers, emphasized the need for increased security measures in the region.
What we have called for, and we've done this since the conflict started, is for the social partners to consider rerouting and provision of security personnel. 10 to 15% of maritime trade goes through that part of the world, the Red Sea, Gulf of Aden sea lanes, out through the Suez Canal in Egypt. Having said that, we know that the lives of our seafarers are more important than cargo. So we are saying, please undertake rerouting.
The Department of Foreign Affairs is actively coordinating efforts to assist the surviving Filipino seafarers. They've dispatched a team to provide immediate financial aid and support. DFA Undersecretary Eduardo De Vega explains.
We provided the first tranche of financial assistance. This was from the Department of Foreign Affairs. We gave them $1,000 each. And what's going to happen is that there will be more assistance packages provided them.
Since November, the Iran-backed Houthis have been targeting ships in the Red Sea, and these attacks have disrupted maritime trade and led to increased security concerns. The U.S. and Britain have responded with strikes on Houthi targets, but the attacks continue unabated. President Marcos Jr. emphasized the critical importance of ensuring safe passage in the South China Sea, asserting that a free and open waterway not only benefits the Philippines, but also the global community. Speaking at a joint press conference with German Chancellor Olaf Scholz in Berlin, Germany, Marcos highlighted the significance of the South China Sea in handling 60% of the world's trade.
It has to be recognized that the South China Sea handles the 60% of the trade of the entire world. So it's not solely the interest of the Philippines or of ASEAN or of Indo-Pacific region, but the entire world. And that's why it is in all our interest to keep it as a safe passage for all international commerce that goes on in the South China Sea.
Acknowledging the heightened tensions in the disputed waters, the president expressed concerns over the lack of outright conflict, but emphasized the importance of maintaining peace and stability.
Our baselines have been well established for years now. We have the economic zone that China has already intruded upon. And until that premise that China has made in terms of all its discussions with the Philippines, then it's very difficult to see a way forward.
Despite China's intrusion into the Philippines' exclusive economic zone, President Marcos underscored the need to defend the country's territory firmly.
Because it is, for myself, for example, as I always explain, when I took office, I took an oath to defend and support the Constitution of the Philippines. The first article of the Constitution of the Philippines is the article that describes and defines the territorial area, maritime and land-based territory of the Philippines. And it is my duty, I have no choice but to defend that, and we will continue to do that.
Addressing China's 10-dash line claim, the president reiterated that it's not recognized by any country, including the Philippines.
But the premise is something that we question. And with that premise that China has made is that their territory follows what is now described as a 10-dash line. This is not recognized by any country, any international body, certainly not by the Philippines.
He reaffirmed the necessity of upholding international law, particularly the UN Convention on the Law of the Sea, or UNCLOS, to ensure the protection of rights and navigation in the region. In the reaffirmation of diplomatic ties, German Chancellor Olaf Scholz reiterated Germany's steadfast support for the Philippines in upholding its sovereign rights in the South China Sea. Addressing reporters alongside President Marcos Jr., Chancellor Scholz emphasized the paramount importance of respecting international law, particularly the 1982 UNCLOS, or the UN Convention on the Law of the Sea.
We also had a detailed exchange of views about the recent developments in the South China Sea. Here again, it is about adhering to international law, ensuring the freedom of navigation. And we are working to ensure that the UN Convention on the Law of the Sea is being adhered to by all its parties that have signed up to it. Peaceful development and the peaceful settlement of conflicts and disputes is important here. I believe it to be very important that each and everyone adheres to the legislation in place. We've talked about this today, as I said, and I made it clear that we support the Philippines in ensuring that the rights are being protected.
President Marcos Jr. assured German business leaders of the Philippines' reliability as an investment destination during the Philippine-Germany Business Forum in Berlin. Highlighting recent legislative reforms, the president encouraged continued investment in the country's fast-growing economy.
I invite esteemed German business leaders to continue to keep in mind the Philippines as a reliable partner that can support your market expansion and your operations. We remain steadfast in our commitment to purposeful reforms, evident in key legislative amendments.
The President cited key laws, including the Public Service Act and Renewable Energy Act, as well as initiatives like the Maharlika Investment Fund, which aim to drive strategic investments and socio-economic impact.
These reforms position the Philippines as one of the fastest-growing economies in Asia. In fact, we are in the process of even improving the reforms under the CREATE Act.
He also announced securing $4 billion in investments during his visit, emphasizing Germany's confidence in the Philippines as a partner. President Marcos also addressed thousands of Filipino workers in Germany, pledging government efforts to protect their rights and welfare through programs like One Repatriation Command Center and educational assistance for their families. With approximately 35,000 Filipinos working in Germany across various sectors, President Marcos acknowledged their significant contributions to the Philippine economy.
Your contributions to the Philippine economy over the years will not be forgotten. Bagong bayani, we call you, and rightly so. In 2023, ang Bangko Sentral ay nakapag-report na ang remittance na pinadala ng mga Pinoy na galing sa abroad ay naabot natin ay record, unprecedented high. The surge in remittances was bolstered by the strength of the Philippine peso, which magnified the value of these financial lifelines. Because it is fitting to remember the legacy of our national hero, Dr. Jose Rizal, who spent a significant period of his life here in Germany. Rizal's stay in Germany not only broadened his own intellectual horizons, but also deepened his understanding of the world and its complexities. His time in this country is a reminder of the enduring bonds between Philippines and Germany. Like Rizal, I am told that students and scholars from the Philippines continue to come to Germany through the German Academic Exchange Program. These people-to-people exchanges strengthen the fabric of our bilateral relations and contribute to greater understanding between the people of this country and the over 35,000 people here, now living here in Germany.
In a political upheaval, Thailand's Election Commission announced its intent to petition the Constitutional Court to dissolve the reformist Move Forward Party, which secured the highest number of seats in last year's polls. The Move Forward Party, with its platform promising reform across various sectors, including the military, business monopolies, and lèse majesté laws, disrupted Thailand's political landscape during the May elections. However, their bold agenda unsettled the Thai establishment, leading to months of political and legal disputes that ultimately barred them from joining a coalition government. The Election Commission, in a statement, cited the party's campaign pledge to reform the kingdom's stringent royal insult laws as grounds for dissolution following a previous constitutional court ruling. Responding to the decision, a Move Forward Party spokesperson expressed disappointment, emphasizing that dissolution shouldn't be perceived as commonplace, urging caution until a final verdict is reached.
สิ่งที่เกิดขึ้นณวันนี้เนี่ยถึงแม้เป็นสิ่งที่เราไม่ได้เห็นด้วยไม่ได้อยากให้เกิดขึ้นเนี่ยแต่มันก็ไม่ได้เกินเลยจินตนาการของสิ่งที่สสพรรคก้าวไกลสามารถคาดการณ์ได้นะครับนั้นก็มั่นใจว่านะครับเพียงแต่ว่าผมไม่อยากให้เราด่วนสรุปแต่ว่าพรรคก้าวไกลนั้นถูกยุบจนกระทั่งมันมีคำตัดสินออกมาและสำคัญกว่านั้น
Thailand has witnessed previous instances of judicial intervention in party matters, notably with the dissolution of MFP's precursor, the Future Forward Party, in 2020. President Biden announced a $300 million emergency weapons package for Ukraine amid congressional opposition while meeting with Poland's leaders at the White House. Biden stressed the urgency of bolstering Ukraine's defense against Russian aggression and called on Republicans to support a $60 billion aid package.
Congress must pass the bipartisan national security bill now, which includes urgent funding for Ukraine. We must act before it literally is too late. Before it's too late. Because as Poland remembers, Russia won't stop at Ukraine. Putin will keep going, putting Europe, the United States, and the entire free world at risk, in my view.
He warned of the broader threat posed by Putin's ambitions and clarified that the $300 million aid comes from Pentagon savings to bypass congressional gridlock.
Today, the United States is announcing an emergency package for Ukraine using cost savings from previously approved Pentagon contracts. The package includes munitions and rounds to help Ukraine hold the line against Russia's brutal attacks for the next couple of weeks, which I have the authority to do without asking Congress for some more money right now. But I've asked them for a lot more money. And
6 aid trucks from Israel entered northern Gaza directly as part of a pilot project aimed at ensuring smoother supply delivery, announced by the Israeli army. And this move comes after warnings from aid groups about the risk of famine in Gaza, especially in the north, where access for humanitarian supplies has been particularly challenging. The trucks, operated by the World Food Program, passed through the 96th gate in the security fence after inspection at Kerem Shalom. The pilot aims to prevent Hamas from controlling aid distribution. Israel has enforced strict oversight on aid since its conflict with Hamas began, inspecting shipments before allowing them into Gaza from the south. The process has been criticized for delays, exacerbating shortages. While the U.S. and other nations have resorted to airdrops and maritime deliveries, aid workers emphasize the importance of improved land routes for more effective supply distribution. The European Union's top diplomat on foreign affairs, Josep Borrell, emphasized to the UN Security Council the imperative of preventing starvation from being wielded as a tool in the ongoing Israel-Hamas conflict. Borrell raised concerns that Israel's measures, such as restricting access to essential humanitarian aid routes into Gaza, risk exacerbating the humanitarian crisis in the region. Thomas I. Likeness provides further details.
Borrell criticizes the lack of aid entering the war-torn region. He told the UN Security Council Israel is responsible for the food crisis in Gaza.
This is a humanitarian crisis which is not a natural disaster. It's not a flood. It's not a earthquake. It's a man-made.
With aid entering Gaza by land at a rate far below pre-war levels and relief agencies warning of famine, foreign governments have turned to airdrops. They're also trying to set up a maritime aid corridor. Blocking land shipments, says Borrell, amounts to using food as a weapon.
Starvation is being used as a war arm. And when we condemn this happening in Ukraine, we have to use the same words for what's happening in Gaza.
Borrell says alternative methods of providing support are a less efficient way of getting aid to those who need it. UN Humanitarian Affairs spokesman Jens Lerke says while any aid is welcome, what is getting through is not enough.
I'm sorry if I sound like a broken record, but it's not a substitute for the overland transport of food and other emergency aid into Gaza and particularly northern Gaza.
And while delivery of aid by land remains stalled, these mad scrambles by Gazans for whatever food they can carry will continue. And so will the hunger pangs for the thousands who miss out on what is dropped. Thomas I. Likeness, Eagle News. We live in extraordinary times.
A suspected gas explosion in northern China's Hebei province killed one person and injured 22 others, according to state media. The blast, believed to have been caused by a gas leak at a fried chicken shop, occurred in a residential area in Sane, located less than 50 kilometers east of Beijing. The injured have been hospitalized, while the exact casualty count remains unknown. China has witnessed numerous deadly accidents due to lax safety standards, prompting calls for increased vigilance from President Xi Jinping. In other news tonight, the U.S. House Judiciary Committee conducted a hearing today questioning Special Counsel Robert Hur regarding his investigation into President Joe Biden's handling of classified documents. Hur appeared before the Capitol to address concerns about classified materials discovered in Biden's home and office during his tenure as vice president. Hur stated that Biden couldn't recall the incident due to his advanced age, categorizing him as an elderly man with a poor memory.
There has been a lot of attention paid to language in the report about the president's memory, so let me say a few words about that. My task was to determine whether the president retained or disclosed national defense information willfully. That means knowingly and with the intent to do something the law forbids. I could not make that determination without assessing the president's state of mind. For that reason, I had to consider the president's memory and overall mental state and how a jury likely would perceive his memory and mental state in a criminal trial.
However, Hur concluded that there wasn't sufficient evidence to press charges against the president. Republicans are seizing on Hur's report to paint Biden as unfit for office due to his age.
President, you understood when you made that decision, didn't you, Mr. Hur, that you would ignite a political firestorm with that language, didn't you?
Congressman, politics played no part whatsoever in my investigative steps.
But you understood nevertheless,
the words
didn't you,
that I put in my
Mr.
report.
Hur, you cannot tell me you're so naive as to think your words would not have created a political firestorm. You understood that, didn't you, when you wrote those words, when you decided to include those words, when you decided to go beyond specific references to documents? You understood how they would be manipulated by my colleagues here on the GOP side of the aisle and by President Trump. You understood that, did you not?
Committee Chairman Jim Jordan accused Biden of breaking the law but claimed Hur refrained from prosecution due to sympathy for Biden's age. Hur defended his assessment, asserting its necessity, accuracy, and fairness.
My assessment in the report about the relevance of the president's memory was necessary and accurate and fair. Most importantly, what I wrote is what I believe the evidence shows and what I expect jurors would perceive and believe. I did not sanitize my explanation, nor did I disparage the president unfairly.
Republicans argue that Hur's leniency towards Biden contrasts sharply with former President Donald Trump's situation, where Trump faces charges for similar offenses.
President Biden did not assert executive privilege or claim absolute immunity for presidential crimes. He did not hide boxes of documents under his bed or in a bathtub. He did not fight investigators, nor did he seek to redact a single word of Mr. Hur's report.
Biden and Trump should have been treated equally. They weren't, and that is the double standard that I think a lot of Americans are concerned about. I see my time's expired.
Finally, in our news, a feline fugitive is on the loose. Local authorities are urging caution after a cat took an unexpected dip in a vat of hazardous chemicals at a metal plating plant in Fukuyama. Surveillance footage shows the daring escape, with the cat leaving a trail of paw prints before disappearing into the night. While the determined escapee seems to have avoided immediate harm, the chemicals in question pose a serious health threat. And the cat is believed to have been exposed to hexavalent chromium, a substance known to cause skin irritation and even cancer. Plant officials are taking this incident seriously and are reviewing security measures to prevent future animal intrusions. While the current whereabouts of the cat are unknown, residents are advised to remain vigilant and report any sightings to the authorities. As my usual habit, I'd like to end the day on a positive note. Let's encourage and build each other up so that no one is left behind. And that's it for tonight's broadcast. I'm Alma Angela. Stay in the news because we live in extraordinary times. Good night.